Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Moxi Monday on Monday, October 14th, 2024. We are going to be talking about Moxi Present today, and specifically the very important buyer presentations. We all know how important it is now, more than ever with the NAR changes, to express our value to our buyers. And there's a lot of great tools, a lot of great content that the brand has actually uploaded into Moxi that can make this really easy to help you have those meetings with your buyers. So let's go ahead and jump in. Of course, we're going to start in my CB desk and we're going to find the tile that says Moxi Works. Once that launches in, you may or may not land on Moxi Present. You may land into your dashboard. It kind of depends on your cookies, what you were in the last time that you were in the system, multiple things like that. So if you can't find Present, you do want to go into your top blue menu bar here and you want to click on Present. That's going to load your dashboard. Now, if this is the first time you've ever been in here, your dashboard is going to be empty because you don't have any presentations. If you are a return user, you're going to have all the different presentations that you've created through time, whether it's a CMA, a competitive market analysis, and you are using the seller presentation. Maybe you've already played around with the buyer presentation. You may have a demo of that in there. You could have the property review. And then the fourth option that we have is, of course, our non-listing presentations. If you're creating some type of newsletter or other communication to your sphere of influence, you can also use Moxi Present for that. But specifically what we're talking about today is our buyer presentation and the content that the brand has provided to assist you in having those conversations with your buyers. So as you can see in this account, there are multiple presentations in here. If you are a longtime user, but you've never played around with the buyer presentation, you can do things like toggle your view. Maybe you want to see just your buyers or just your buyer tours, or maybe you want to go and see them from recently updated or date created, or maybe you want them alpha by tile. You have a lot of different options in here. There's also a search feature. So if you know the client's name you created this for, or if you know the property address that you were using, you can then go ahead and search for them that way as well. But we are going to start from scratch today. So we're going to click on Create New. This will then give all of those great options like I talked about, the seller, the CMA, the property review, which is a great sphere of influence touch, particularly if somebody you sold a house to last year. Everybody wants to know what their asset's doing for them. They want to know what the market value is of their property, what competition is around them. It's a great touch annually to set up those property reviews. And I believe 2 weeks ago, Bailey talked to us about that type of presentation. And if you head to Schmidt Video Classroom in the Moxi Monday playlist, you'll see that opportunity to review that there. And then, of course, we have Buyer Tour. Buyer Tour, they probably already signed up with you. They probably already signed some type of buyer brokerage document. You've got them coming into town, perhaps. You've already got showing set up. So that's a little bit different. The one we're going to talk about here is our buyer presentation. This really speaks to the value of that buyer agent. So when you do have conversations with them about your value and maybe the compensation attached to that, this will give you the toolkit that you need to have that conversation. So we're going to go ahead and select buyer and then continue. The default here defaults to the broker template, but what we want to talk about today is what the brand brings us. Our Coldwell Banker, right here, it says parent company templates. So once you click on that, you'll see that the default buyer one is still there, but when you scroll just a little bit, you'll see there's a 12-minute one, which is 14 pages. There's a 27-page one, which is just amazing, great content. And keep in mind, when you pull in the template now, you're not married to all of this content. You still then have further customization that you can add pages, remove pages, change pages, whatever it might be. So you'll see here the good opportunity we have is also we have global luxury. So if you are in the global luxury world and you're meeting with the global luxury buyer, there is the opportunity to have that branding here along with that additional value that elevated platform provides to our buyers and sellers. And then fairly new, but super important is we now have the Spanish buyer opportunity. We have the shorter 14-page one, and then we have the longer 25-page one, all completely in Spanish. Great for your bilingual clientele or your clientele that only speaks Spanish. So lots of opportunity here. We're going to go ahead and select the 27-page. If you're not sure, you're trying to decide which template to pick, if you click on pages right here from this screen still, it's going to load a quick snapshot of what the titles of all the documents in this presentation template are. Now, keep in mind, you can add, remove, change further on into this process. You're not married to exactly how it's set up here. So you're happy with it. You want a lot of content. So you click continue. This will allow you to do the name. It could be Mr. and Mrs. Smith, who your home buyer is. If you're a member of more than one MLS, you can choose which option you want to pick. Obviously, with the buyer presentation, you may not even be pulling in any property information, so it may not matter as much, but particularly when you're doing a property review or if you're doing a seller review, you want to make sure that you're picking the MLS that you want your comparables from. Right now, as of today, Moxi does not have the capability to pull comparables from multiple MLSs into one presentation. You can only choose one. Now, you do have the opportunity to add in manual comparables if you would like, but the system itself will only let you use one MLS at a time. And then even though you've not chosen the global luxury branding with the content, you can still make the look and feel of the buyer presentation global luxury by choosing this here. So same content, but it removes the blue residential branding and replaces it with the black global luxury branding. So that's your option there as well. So then when you click create, it gets to a point where it almost looks like it's doing nothing and you're really questioning if you hit the button correctly, but I promise you it's loading. It just takes a little bit of time. Then you'll see that the circle will pop up there just when you're ready to give up hope. I promise it comes. And then it takes us through that same 5-step process, just like it did if you've ever used this for a seller presentation. So you'll see the presentation came in here. You can further tweak it. You can attach it right here up front to your contacts because maybe you've already added them to Moxi Engage. They've been in your sphere of influence. You're now getting to the presentation stage. You can go ahead and connect them there. It'll make it easier later on to send to them. Plus also when you go back to their client contact card in Engage, it's going to show the history. It'll show when you sent them the presentation, when they've opened the presentation, if they forwarded the presentation to others, and some other information like that. So it really helps track what they're doing here. If you are pulling in a particular property, maybe they reached out to you about a property, they're really, really interested, so you want to include that information in here, you can pull that information in from the MLS that you chose. It will, of course, populate all of this information, including our drive time, which can be important if people are moving newly into the area. Maybe they already have a job, maybe they're a relocation, so they're coming in with a position and they want to know what that drive time might look like. Really good feature here in Moxi. Again, we've also done a training on that, so it'll be in the Moxi Monday playlist as well. If you're skipping all this property information here and you want to just click continue, you can do so. And then it's going to take you to search. So you can see we went from subject property to search to listings. Now, this is a buyer presentation. I'm new with this buyer. I just want to explain what my value as a buying agent is. I'm not really talking about properties yet. So what you can actually do is skip all of these up here because they're really more specific to when they're getting down to the nitty gritty of buying a property. And since we're not there yet, we're just selling our value. You can actually skip all the way to pages. You can click continue through the widget or the wizard as well if you would like, but you can skip ahead. I was always one of those kids that read to the last page of the book because I wanted to know what happened. Same option here in Moxi Engage. So go ahead and click on pages. So all of those titles that you saw in the preview when you were in the first step of this process and you clicked on pages, they're all here now. So again, you have a lot of opportunity here. If you want to go to purchase process, and you don't like how that page looks because that's just the cover page. Maybe you don't like the photos, you want to pull it. It'll give you the step-by-step process here. So all of this different information from the brand is available here. Again, maybe you don't want to talk about home preferences, so you can just go ahead and remove that right from the presentation. It'll no longer be in there, but you can also add pages as well. So when you click add pages, you can create new. So maybe you have some new content. Maybe you found a flyer from a local PTO and they were asking about the school district. So you just want to include that information, whatever it might be, or you can add from library as well. Adding from library pulls in all of the brokerage pages that you have the opportunity from the blue books and the black books, along with all of the content that our parent company, Coldwell Banker, provides, which you can see at a 228 page count. Lots of content in there. So you can go through, you can remove some of the standard template pages if you don't like them. You can add in other pages from either the Schmidt family of companies or from the brand, and you can add those into your page count. Now, because I removed that one, you'll see it went from 27 down to 26. So once you have all of this looking the way that you want to look, you can also drop and drag these. So if you want to talk about purchasing process first, you can drag that to the top. If you want to talk about it a little bit later in the process, you can drop and drag it down to the bottom. So maybe you want to do step by step right after that, and then go into some of the other information. all of that customability that you have here. Now you can view this before you send it. You can view it by web. If you're physically meeting with a client and you're not sure about Wi-Fi or what that might look like and you want to take a printed copy, you can do that in portrait or landscape. Keep in mind though, if you're pulling in some of those pages from the library, make sure that they're going to be formatted correctly. Not every single page will auto format for you. Some of them are static pages. So just make sure you take a look through and make sure it's formatted correctly. So if we want to view this on the web, it will actually pull it up for us. It does take just a moment to go ahead and load. And then just like a CMA from Moxi Engage, it's going to create it. It's going to let you scroll down to start. It's going to always be branded as the agent. Obviously, you're going to be in your own account, so it'll be branded to you. And then it'll give the client the opportunity to scroll down. You can have as much information about yourself as you want by adding in your bio page. And then when you continue down, you'll see that it's going to talk about everything that was in that template, the buying process, the support that you as the buying agent would provide to the client. And it kind of talks through all of that. It goes to what you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll see there's a slight lag in the load time. Just depends on your Wi-Fi. I'm obviously streaming the video here, so that's slowing it down just a little bit. So it may or may not be faster for you, just depending on the service you have. The good news with these Moxi Engage presentations, they're also mobile responsive. So whether the consumer is looking at it on their desktop or they're looking at it on a cell phone or an iPad, it's going to be formatted correctly for them and be really user-friendly for them. So you'll see that it talks about trusted advisor in the process, what you as the buying agent promises to do for the client, talks about that compensation, kind of how that's changed. Obviously, the local forms aren't included in here. If you wanted to add them in because you have a PDF, you could do that by adding it, the custom page. But of course, this is a national brand value proposition for you as the buying agent. So that local flair is not in there at the standard template, but again, because we have so much customization, you can absolutely add that. Talks about the all-important pre-approval process. Goes through what that home search might look like. That's the fun part, right? Everyone wants to think about where they might want to live. Talks about the website that you provide that they can use, which we know is our Moxi websites. But it also goes further and talks about coldwellbanker.com as well. So you can see, I'm just going to kind of scroll through here a little bit faster. Making an offer, closing on your home really takes you through the entire process, particularly first-time home buyers or maybe empty nesters that have lived in a house for 20 years, so haven't been through the process in a long time. Some of that information is really good for them. So you really want to take your time, dial in that value prop that you offer them, and you'll have all of this here for you ready to go. And again, you can customize anything you want to customize as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pause and open my chat box just in case there's any questions here. And I'm going to go back here to this site. So while I wait for questions, we'll just, now that we viewed it in the web, we're happy with it. You can actually assign it to another agent. Maybe you have somebody on your team, or maybe you as an assistant was doing this for an agent. So you can add it, sign it over to the agent. If it is a you're going in as a co-broke situation, you can add a co-presenter as well. You have the opportunity to send directly from here, whether you put in a client on that first page or not, you have the opportunity to send it to them. You can send them the online one like we just viewed. You can also attach it as a PDF, which is a really nice feature as well. So lots of opportunity to get it over to your clients. And then when you go back to your presentation homepage and you go back to your dashboard, you'll see now that it's right here front and center because we have our search, or we have our filter set to recently updated. So it went right up here. You can always go back into edit. And that takes you right back into that widget where you can then further customize pages by adding, removing, adding listing information if you choose to, adding comparables if you choose to. And again, all the way back to here where you can then drop and drag pages, add, remove, add from library, or create new. Do you guys have any questions? All right, great. Well, thank you for your time this morning. And as I've already mentioned, head to Schmidt Video Classroom to the Moxi Monday playlist to see all of our other trainings and recordings. Thanks so much for your time this morning. Bye now.